Welcome back, Beans Army, to another episode of the Less is More Sports Podcast, the college offseason podcast, where you could say we're less of the regular season, but more of the offseason. I hope everyone enjoyed our most recent episode. I think Ryan did a great job leading the show, and I think he's feeling a little confident because now he's looking like me. He got the shades and the backwards hat going on. I'm kind of digging your look, but of course, also the lights are a little bright because Ryan's out on the West Coast. We got a live Zoom call from Arizona over here. So, Ryan, how's your vacation going?
Going very good. I got a bunch of family out here in Arizona on my dad's side. I absolutely love it out here. It's usually perfect weather. Today's a little bit different. High of 59 degrees. Feeling the Indiana weather out here. But past couple of days it's been 80s, 70s, and just living life out here, playing a bunch of golf.
Oh, that
Really
sounds
nice out
fun.
here.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I'm sure the allergies are a little different than the Ohio Valley out there.
Yeah, Allen's taking a big hit from it.
Oh, he's taking a hit? Ooh,
Yeah, his allergies are going a little bit nuts right here, or nuts out here. My allergies aren't bad, so I'm not really taking a hit of it, but he is. Sorry, Alan.
I'm not sorry, Alan, just for the record.
I don't know who Alan is, so I'm staying out of
My
this.
father.
That's
Oh,
his
okay.
dad.
Poor
Right.
Alan. I don't know. Get him some Benadryl. I mean, you're in Arizona. They probably have Benadryl in Arizona.
But
What if they don't? What if Arizona doesn't sell Benadryl?
They banned it. You have to drink like cactus juice, like in the episode of Avatar.
Yo, that'd be crazy.
It's the
Yeah.
quenchiest.
You sound like you know that from experience.
A magician never reveals his secrets.
Speaking of a cactus, this is a little bit off topic, but in the cactus category. We were playing golf yesterday, and someone hit a golf ball and got stuck in a cactus. That does not usually happen
Oh
in Indiana.
God!
Yeah, you don't
I
see
hope
that in Southern Indiana.
No.
no. That very rarely happens around here.
I think I've living in Kentucky my entire life. I think I've seen one cactus, and my grandma literally brought it from somewhere out west.
It probably didn't last long then.
She got mad at me because I kept trying to water it, and she was like, "No, they don't need that much water. Stop." I was like, "I was just trying to help, Grandma. Jeez."
Less is destroying cacti as we know it.
Yeah, I'm gonna. My goal is to destroy all the living cactus in the world, the cacti in the world. That wasn't bad. That wasn't good grammar. That was one subject I was actually good at, and I just made it silly there.
Les is going to have to issue an apology to all the cacti around the world after this episode.
I'm sorry that I'm trying to kill all the cacti.
You all didn't really do anything, but you're just there, and I was trying to be nice, and the next thing you know,
I'm angry at my grandma for getting mad at me for trying to help her cacti, and I'm
here we
taking it
go
all out
again.
on you all.
Here we go again with the deep thoughts on the Less is More Sports podcast.
Hey,
We break
saving the
down
world,
trauma,
saving the world, one topic at a time.
how an
But any,
overwater cactus let Les confront his anger issues.
fair enough. But anyways, we actually do have a topic to talk about today in honor of March Madness. Um, Matt and I did our did our last hoorah of like what were our preseason college basketball thoughts last week. Ryan did a great job interviewing us. This week, to honor March Madness, we are going to draft some of the greatest teams in March Madness history. And the only rules here are that there are no rules. And we're going to start with the order is going to be Ryan, Matt, then me. And we're going to do a little round robin. So because I have the last pick in the first round, I'm going to then have the first pick in the second round. And then so on and so on. So without further ado, Ryan, you have the first pick. You're on the clock. Who is the best March Madness team of all time?
Dun, 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 dun. With the first pick of the 2024 NCAA Less is More Sports Podcast draft, I will be taking, by the way, before I give you all my pick, I went more recent because I am only 17 years old, and I'm going to go with what I was in my lifetime picks. I went with the 2006 2007 Florida Gators. You know that Florida Gators team went back to back.
All right, hold
35.
on. Question, real quick. Are you picking one of those teams, or are you picking the core group that went back to back?
I'm gonna pick one of those teams. Specifically that 2006, 2007, like that team that played in.
So the second year in the second championship.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I'm gonna go with that team. Billy Donovan as the head coach. Really, really good team. Star players were uh, Joakim Noah, Al Hortford, Corey Brewer. Just a really, really good team. Uh, one of in one of the years that they went back to back, beat Ohio State, beat Greg Oden, Mike Conley. That's disappointing, but I'm gonna go with that team for my first pick overall.
Pretty solid pick there. And I'm not gonna lie, if I was you, I would have just picked both teams because it was like the same core group of guys. I mean, I wouldn't have cared. Like I said, the only rule is there are no rules. But so with the first pick, Ryan picked the '07 Florida Gators. So without further ado, Matt, who is your first pick of the 2024 Less is More Sports March Madness draft? I like that. I like that, by the way. Nice lead up, Ryan.
That's a mouthful, but I agree it's nice. Before we get to that, though, I just want to say I thought his name was Joaquin Noah for like the longest time.
That's
So I
better than
just
what my
always,
grand. I feel like I'm throwing a lot of shade at my grandma on this podcast, but like that's better than what she thought. She thought his name was Ponytail Boy.
oh my god. Okay.
My grandma's gonna. Me and my grandma are gonna have a lot of beef after
You
this
did have
episode.
a heart to heart with your grandmother after this list. That's all I gotta
What's
say.
ironic is she's in Florida right now.
Oh
Does
my
she watch
god.
these?
Yes,
Okay,
Oh god, we're in trouble.
she
you're gonna
tells
have,
me I need to be funnier on the show. So I don't know. This is for you, Grandma.
she's gonna have some
Sigh.
serious talks with you.
We need to teach Les like how to be an adult. He needs to acquire a taste for freeform jazz, grow some sideburns,
That
say
sounds
tax
awful.
exemption.
Sounds awful.
Man, somebody didn't get the SpongeBob reference. I'm taking that note down.
No,
You
I
did good.
got it. It still sounds
Okay.
awful.
No, you got to say tax exemption.
I have to say tax exemption
You
now.
have to, yes.
Tax exemption. Are you happy?
There we go. Now
I
we're
was
back.
trying to move on to your first pick, but geez, yes, tax exemption.
Yeah,
Are
I
you
know
happy?
you were, but I just had to get that in there. And
Okay.
for the first pick, there are two paths I can go here. I can go with like the mid-major route, which everyone expects me to do. And guess what? I didn't do that because there is a team if I don't pick, I'm pretty sure I get kicked out of the state of Indiana. I have to live on a barge in the middle of the Ohio River. So, of course, I had to go with 1975 76 Indiana, the last regular team to finish the season undefeated at 32 and 0, 18 and 0 in the Big Ten. We can have discussions about the coaching skills of Bobby Knight in a later episode, but we can't deny the power of Quinn Buckner and Scott May leading that team, along with Kent Benson, who went on to bite Indiana, destroy Indiana's future a little bit by being mean to freshmen. But regardless of how you cut it, 32 and 0, Scott March Madness's number one overall team at the moment. And because I live in Indiana and I do root for IU, in spite of the fact I'm highly critical of them sometimes, I feel like I have to go with the last unbeaten national champion, the Indiana Hoosiers of 1975-76 for my number one overall pick.
Another solid selection. I'm not gonna lie. We're off to a great start here, boys. And like everyone's expecting Matt to go with the mid majors and the Cinderella stories. I'm sure everyone is picking me to pick one of the 5 national champions of that my Duke Blue Devils have, which we play later on today. I'll be tuned into that. But like Matt, I'm going to shock the world and not pick a Duke team with my first overall pick. And I'm going to go with the 2018 Villanova Wildcats. And in my opinion, this is the best college basketball team of all time. And why are they the best basketball team of all time? Because the numbers say that they're the best basketball team of all time. Their 17.7 average margin of victory is the highest in NCAA tournament history. They're one of 3 teams to win every tournament game by 10 or more in the modern era. And that even dates back to the conference tournament. They were number 1 in offensive rating. They were number 1 in points scored per game. They had a Ken Pom offensive rating, 5 points better per possession, per 100 possession. That's a mouthful right there, than anyone else in the country. And that is an NCAA record. They had 6 players on the team average double-digit scoring. They didn't lose a game when they had their full roster. They had 7 future pros on the team, and they had the player of the year, Jalen Brunson. And then on top of that, they also had McCall Bridges, Dante DiVincenzo. This team was absolutely the most dominant team college basketball has ever seen in the modern era, and that is why the 2018 Villanova Wildcats are my top pick in the 2024 Less is More Sports All-Time March Madness Draft. That was a mouthful. I need to catch my breath real quick. Anyways, but because it's a round robin draft, I now have the second pick of the 2020. Okay, I'm not even going to get into the whole name. That's going to waste a ton of time. So moving on. For my second pick,
podcast is us just saying the name.
For the second pick of the draft, I'm also going to go with one of the best teams of all time. And I'm also going to shock the world because it is, again, not one of the 5 Duke Natty teams. And I'm going to go with a team that I absolutely can't stand and love the fact that they lost to Oakland in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And I'm going to go with the 1996 Kentucky Wildcats. They had a 34-2 record. They were undefeated in the SEC that year at 16-0. They were number 1 in the simple rating system as far as strength of schedule, how they dominated their schedule, etc. They had notable wins over then head coach of UMass, John Calipari, in the Final Four. And they also had a win over Tim Duncan's Wake Forest team in the Elite Eight. They had 9 future NBA players on the roster, easily one of the best teams of all time. So my second pick in the draft is the 1996 Kentucky Wildcats. Now, Matt, I think you're up.
Yes, it is, and it's not very often that I get to choose a team that's got a little bit of a Cinderella run and also a national championship. But there's a team that's kind of wondering if history will repeat itself because this team is now doing things this tournament. And so for my next pick, I'm going to go with the 1982 through 83 NC State Wolfpack. We all know what that team was: survive and advance. Jim Valvano, the head coach, led by the big man Thurl Bailey, the 6'11" forward. Didn't get off to a hot start in the regular season. Went on that epic Cinderella run. Nobody thought they were going to win the national championship, and then they somehow managed to beat the insanely talented Houston Cougars in that championship game. I still don't know how they did that some days, but they're a great story. They were a good fun team to study about, learn all about. I mean, I still don't know how they beat that Houston team, but I absolutely love it. So I'm going to go with Jim Valvano, Thurl Bailey, Derek Wittenberg, and the 1982 through 83 NC State Wolfpack. One of the best Cinderella runs of all time, and who knows? Maybe DJ Burns is going to do that too. We just don't know.
God, I hope not.
You'll never hear the end of it, Les.
I cannot stand DJ Burns. I cannot stand
It'll
DJ
be
Burns.
over for you.
I cannot stand DJ Burns. As a player, I don't know him as a person. I want to make that clear.
We just hate him.
Anyways, Ryan, now you're up. Who is your next pick?
With my personal second pick of the Less More Sports Podcast draft, I will be taking the 2022-2023 Louisville Cardinals. No, I'm just kidding. I will be taking the 2014-2015 Kentucky Wildcats. Don't like them, but that team is absolutely loaded. 9 future NBA draft picks. That
10.
is
10, actually.
10. Sorry, 10.
10.
10 future NBA draft picks. That is crazy for a college basketball team. They were 38-0 until they got beat in the Final Four by Wisconsin by Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker. The team was just absolutely loaded. They have Karl Anthony Towns, they had Devin Booker, Harrison Twins, etc. They had a bunch of stars. One of Calipari's best teams. Praying for Kentucky fans right now. Actually, no, I'm not. I don't.
Don't lie.
Don't lie. No, but none of us feel bad for
I'm very, very glad they lost to Oakland. But the team was just loaded. They did not lose in SEC play. It was very. Even though we don't like Kentucky, it was fun to watch that team. How loaded they were. And that is my personal second pick in the Less is More Sports Podcast draft.
Before Ryan gets to his next pick, I do want to point out for all the Kentucky fans that my Duke Blue Devils did win the national championship that year. Just wanted to rub that in again. Ryan, proceed.
Oh dear God.
This pick was taken by Les. It's okay. I forgive you. It was the 2017-2018 Villanova Wildcats. That team is loaded, but with my third pick, I will be taking the 2015 and 2016 Villanova Wildcats. You know, that team where Chris Jenkins pulled up for three for the buzzer beater for the game for the championship. That team was still loaded. They had Jalen Brunson, they had Josh Hart, who are now teammates in the NBA. Um, they that national championship game against North Carolina was so fun to watch. Marcus Page's funny looking three that went in Michael Jordan
It's
in
one way
space.
to describe it.
Yeah, it was crazy, but that team is really really good. You know, Chris Jenkins. I heard a story one time. Not sure if this is true, but his mom or parents would not let him take a three until he was like really really comfortable, like in high school or something. He would take like 20 shots from like close to the rim all the way back, and it worked out in the long run. But that is my pick, my third pick, 2015 Villanova Wildcats.
I do not apologize for drafting well. Sorry, Ryan.
It's okay.
Sorry,
I
you gotta be quicker than that.
Yep.
But anyways, Matt, you're up. Who's your next pick?
I'm going with a team that may surprise you a little bit because their star player is not really known for being as good of a dominant force as he was back in the day. But I'm going with the 1971 through 72 UCLA Bruins, led by a very young and incredibly talented Bill Walton. They were 30-0, won the national championship. Walton averaged 21 points and 15 rebounds a game. Fairly deep team with Keith Wilkes and Henry Bibby and even Swen Nader. That's right, Swen Nader coming off the bench for the Bruins. They were a dominant force after they suffered a blemish the season before when they lost at Notre Dame. They avenged that this year by going 30-0, 14-0 in conference. They won their sixth consecutive national championship, 8 in 9 years overall for John Wooden. And let me tell you, son, we all think about Bill Walton as the goofy commentator who did like the late night Pac-12 games, who's eating a cupcake with a lit a candle, talking about volcanoes and the ancient Hawaiians. But let me tell you, playing back when you could actually like probably hit someone in the head and get away with it for a foul, and averaging 21 points and 15 rebounds, still pretty impressive. And with a legendary coach like John Wooden, that's a really good team. So I'm going with the 1970. Let me make sure I got the right year again. 71 through 72 UCLA Bruins, 30-0. Bill Walton's magnum opus, even more so than that 1977 Blazers team.
Matt's going with a real old school team. I like it. I kind of
Bill
see a
Walton.
trend. I see like a trend going on with our picks, and not gonna lie, kind of dig it. I guess that means it's time for my third pick.
Yes.
And anyways, the reason, and I'm going to start my third pick by talking to Ryan real quick. And Ryan, the reason I asked if you were going to go with the both 2006 and 2007 Florida Gators is because that is definitely allowed on this draft, because this is exactly what I'm going to do with my third overall pick. And I'm going to go with the 91 and 92 Duke Blue Devils. You knew I was eventually going to take a Duke team here. And what better team to start with than the team that delivered Coach K's first two national championships and really kicked off the dynasty that was Duke of the 90s. And even though it's two different years, it's the same group of players, same core group of guys. They were the first team to go back to back since the first team to go back to back since the field of 64 was established in 1983, I believe. Someone correct me if that stat's wrong.
That sounds
But
right.
what really makes this team special is they beat two of the most iconic teams of the 90s on their way to win those championships in the UNLV Running Rebels, who were undefeated at the time they played in the Final Four. And then the Fab Five Michigan team beating two of the most culturally iconic teams on the way to win their first two championships. And of course, they featured two of the best college basketball players of all time in Christian Laettner and Grant Hill, not to mention you had Bobby Hurley and so on and so on. So being the Duke fan in me, I had to pick at least the 91 or 92 team. But of course, I cheated and I went with both. So my third pick is the back-to-back of the 91 and 92 Duke Blue Devils. And I guess I'm up again, right?
Yeah, you're up again.
Is this going to make it technically three straight Duke teams? Because I went back the back-to-back team, and now I'm going to go with one of the most underappreciated Duke teams, really, of all time, because you could definitely argue that they are one of the best teams of all time, and I don't think they get enough discussion. And that's that 2001 Duke team. And here's the thing about this one. They also won every single tournament game by double digits, and they even overcame a 22-point deficit to Maryland in the Final Four and still won by 11 points. They were both ACC regular season and tournament champs. They were second in points per game on the season, first in simple rating system, fifth in strength of schedule, second in offensive rating, and 10th in defensive rating, which that's the big one. They were top 10 in both offensive and defensive rating. They had 5 future pros on the team: Jay Williams, Shane Battier, who also won Player of the Year in college basketball that year, Carlos Boozer, Mike Dunleavy, and Chris Duhon. This team, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think, because I ran this on Twitter, and the Twitterverse disagrees with me, but I think the 2001 Duke team is better than the 2009 North Carolina team, the third team that won every single NCAA tournament game by 10 or more points in the modern era. So with my fourth pick of the Less is More Sports Draft, I am going with the 2001 Duke Blue Devils. And I believe, Matt, that means you're back up, my friend.
Yes, this is my fourth, right?
Yes.
Okay, now it's time to kind of make Les mad because this team may frustrate him a little bit. There has only been one team to date that scored over 100 points in the championship game. They did it by beating Duke 103-73 by 30 points. It was their third tournament game they won by 30 points, even if they only beat Ball State by two in, like, I think the regional semifinal round. But they're one of the most fun teams that I think I've ever watched on archival footage or anywhere. And that would be the 1989 through 90 UNLV Running Rebels, coached by Jerry Tarkanian, the towel eating menace himself. One of the most fun, explosive teams I think I've ever seen, like I said, still to date, which is saying something in the modern era of basketball. The only team to score 100 points in their championship game. They've got Greg Anthony, Stacey Ogman, two great college players, and the big man, Larry Johnson, Grandmama down low, taking care of business with some explosive dunks. I know that there are some questions about the morality of Jerry Tarkanian as a head coach. They are the last team from a non-power conference to win the national championship. They're real. I mean, everyone loves the running Rebels, and they really did run over everybody and score in droves. They had a lot with those future pros on the roster, including a guy who I think, including Larry Johnson, who could have been so much better if not for injuries. And winning your championship game by 30, going 38-5 overall. It's just impressive. 35-5, I'm sorry, overall. With Jerry Tarkanian at the helm, I'm going with the 1989 through 90 UNLV Running Rebels basketball squad.
I feel like every time Matt thinks he's going to piss me off, he doesn't at all, because I'm not mad at all at that selection. We got our lick back. What's there to be mad about?
Okay, you never know.
I
Old
am
habits
not an
die
angry
hard.
person, contrary to popular belief.
Is
We're
it
not
my
going to answer
turn?
that, are we, Ryan?
Well, speaking of your team, that was my dad's like number one team that he wanted me to choose. The only reason I didn't
Sorry.
is because I didn't know a lot about them, just because I wasn't born yet. Not to make you feel old.
I wasn't born yet either, but
Yeah, actually, none of us were born during that team, for that team.
ESPN Classic, man. ESPN Classic.
Oh, we just hit the 10.
And you're drafting your last two teams, so you're
Yep,
good to go.
I am back-to-back picks. You know, all of us have, or you two have picked at least one of your favorite teams. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. It's a little bit of a bias pick, but it's okay. 2012, 2013 Louisville Cardinals, national champions, 35-5 under a, a good coach in Ricky P. Miss him, obviously. Louisville fans are going through it right now. But just a really good team. Two really good guards in Russ Smith and Peyton Siva. If you don't know, some Louisville fans used to not like Peyton Siba before that, just because he used to get on a lot of people's nerves. But really good backcourt and a really good front court with Gorgie Dang and Montrezl Harrell. Montrezl Harrell is the big dunk guy, slam dunk all the time, and having Luke Hancock in 4 straight threes in the national championship game against Michigan. Um, those guards made Louisville the best defense in the country at that time, and I was alive and was alert for that national championship game, so I do remember watching that. But yeah, that is my fourth pick of my draft.
So now for your fifth.
For my fifth pick, this is going on the Les train. This team did not win the national championship, did not make it to the Final Four, but I'm going with the 2018-2019 Duke Blue Devils.
Ooh.
You know that team, a very fun and energetic team to watch. Always had a highlight on the Sports Center Top 10. You know that team with Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, Trey Jones, Cam Reddish. They had 3 of the top 10 picks in the NBA draft the next year. Zion Williamson obviously being number 1, but R.J. Barrett was a higher rated recruit. R.J. Barrett was really good. He was technically what was it? Trey Jones was he the point guard of that team?
Trey Jones was the point guard. Yeah.
Okay, but that team was so fun to watch. I would watch Duke games to see what kind of dunk that Zion Williamson would do, and he made a big impression of that first game in the Champions Classic against Kentucky, where they scored 100 points on Kentucky, something like that.
118.
Yeah,
And I was there. I want to make it known that I was there rocking my Christian Laettner jersey.
yeah. I mean that team was fun to watch. Louisville was close to beating that team, and until they gave up a 23-point lead. So that was not a fun night. But that is my final pick of the Less is More Sports podcast draft.
It has me and Bean's approval. Now, Matt, for your final pick of the draft.
Now it's time for me to be mean to Ryan, I think, because I'm going to remind him of the good old days, even though he was probably like 30 years from being born with this one. For my final pick, I'm going with the 1979 through 80 Louisville Cardinals basketball team. Of course, coached by Denny Crum, 33-3, 12-0 in their Metro Conference, getting revenge on Memphis State twice. Very good roster, too. I mean, you've got Jerry Eves, Rodney McCray, Wiley Brown, Derek Smith, and of course, Dr. Duncanstein himself, Daryl Griffith. One of the more fun teams, like I said, that I've been able to watch. And anytime, like I said, I'm really drawn to coaching and very explosive players. And this team had both. And I mean, they beat UCLA by 4 in the championship game. 50, so I mean, 5, in the championship game. I mean, anytime you get a team that's that fun and that explosive together and has friends of the program on it, you got to give the nod to a team like that. So with my final pick, I'm going with the 1979 through 80 Louisville Cardinals basketball championship team, led by Denny Crum and Daryl Griffith.
I was hoping that you would go on for just a little bit longer, but then I looked up at the clock and we only have about 5 minutes left. So that was really kind of out of the realm of possibility there, because I absolutely hate that I'm about to select this team, but they were just so good and I just can't leave them off my list in good conscience. Even though I kind of just threw shade at them with my last selection, I cannot leave off the 2009 North Carolina team from my top 5. They were, again, the third team of the modern era to win every single NCAA tournament game by double digits. They started the season preseason number 1, and they never fell out of the top 5. They were second in points per game. They were first in simple rating system. They were the first in pace, which is what really stands out about this team, just because of how fast they played, the way they had Ty Lawson running the show and just getting up and down the floor, absolutely killing you in transition. And they had 7 future pros on the team, including, I hate to freaking say this dude's name, and I don't know what's worse, him as a player or him as a host on the field of 68. because screw this guy, but it's the only guy that's 4-0 in Cameron Indoor Stadium. I'm gonna barf just getting this guy's name out, but Tyler Hansbrough led that team. I don't know. I'm not gonna be okay.
He's not going to make it, folks.
No, I'm not going to make it. Absolutely. Yeah. I hate to do it, but this team was just really, really freaking good. And I can't in good conscience leave them off my list. I wouldn't feel like I would have done my duties as a semi-fair podcast host if I don't. So with my final pick of the 2024 March Madness Less is More Sports Draft, all-time draft, I have the 2009 North Carolina Tar Heels.
This might be a bold take, but I don't think that Les really liked that pick.
No, this kind of
No, I don't think he did either.
It's a little bit of a
But-
hot take there.
Les, was there a certain pick that you thought Matt would pick that would be not a good team that you were telling me before?
Yeah, if one of you all, and I could have sworn it would have been Matt, if anybody, but if one of you all would have picked the 2014-2015 Wisconsin team, I would have walked off my own fucking show. Excuse my language, but that's how I feel about it. And here's the reason I cannot stand this team so much, is because for whatever reason, as you all know, being a Duke fan, Duke won the national title that year, but for whatever reason, by many college basketball media sources, Duke is considered the third best team of that year. Kentucky, I get it. They went 38-1. Their first loss came in the NCAA tournament, and it was a very pretty much last minute win for Wisconsin, and they had 10 future pros, and them and Duke never played. I get it. If you want to say Kentucky's better than Duke, I understand it. I disagree, but I understand it. It makes sense. Wisconsin, we beat that team twice that year. Once at Wisconsin, and then the other in the national championship game when it mattered most. For some people to say that Wisconsin team was better than that Duke team, we have game footage to say otherwise. And not just once, but twice. So if anybody would have said the 2014-2015 Wisconsin team, I would have absolutely walked off the show.
I'd like to go back and reverse my pick from 1979 through 80 Louisville to 2014.
You're fired. Get off.
Thank God.
Mike freaking drop.
Goodbye, everybody.
I don't know where he went, but I was gonna pick the Duke team, but I was already halfway making my list, so I didn't want to go back. And it was not a team that was
Right.
like 4 or 5 worthy. It was gonna be like 3, 2, or 1. But I did choose that Kentucky team, but I'm glad I did not choose that Wisconsin team because I thought that Kentucky team was way better than Wisconsin.
Let you know me
was
well
off.
enough right now to know I hate Wisconsin with every fiber of my being, so I wouldn't ever pick them to be good at anything. I
You
still
get
have
very excited when you think you're about to piss me off, and you have yet to do it on the show legitimately. So
Yes,
I thought
because
this
I
would have
know
been
that
your
most of
this
the
would have
time I'm
been
not
your
going to.
this would have been your one shining moment. Okay.
I still have a dartboard with Frank Kaminsky's face on it, so I don't want to hear of it. I couldn't do that. I couldn't even do that.
Fair enough. But for time constraints, we do have a minute left. So as always, like and subscribe to Less is More Sports YouTube and Spotify channel. Be sure to follow the social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Threads. That's at Less is More Sports. And make sure you tune into next week's episode because, I kind of live under a rock most days of the week, but there's been some serious coaching moves already. Even a guy that Matt knows all too well and one of his favorite coaches in college basketball, Dusty May, taking over the Michigan job, and he didn't take the Louisville job, contrary to popular belief.
New head coach of Louisville will be Chris Mack. He's coming back.
That's a bold take there, buddy.
Return of the Mac. That's not happening. But I just wanted to say return of the Mac.
I don't blame you. That was actually kind of smooth.
Return of Chris Mack. Return of Chris
Not
Mack.
to throw shade on Kentucky fans, but they are not happy with Coach